You ever had those moments where you feel like you're holding everything together by a thread?
Ah,
Like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and no matter how hard you try, things just keep slipping through your fingers.
yeah, I know that feeling.
And let me tell you, there comes a point where your strength isn't enough, your plans aren't working, and your heart is too tired to keep fighting. But what if I told you that the breakthrough you've been praying for, the peace you've been chasing, comes the moment you finally let go? The moment you stop gripping so tight and put everything in God's hands, because listen, life will break you if you let it. Fear will paralyze you if you feed it. But faith will carry you through every storm, every setback, and every single moment where you feel like giving up. This isn't about giving up control. It's about finally stepping into the power that was never yours to carry alone. So today we're diving deep. I'm going to share with you some of the most powerful wisdom about surrendering, trusting, and stepping into the life that's waiting for you, for you. Because when you put everything in God's hands, miracles start to unfold. Doors open, strength rises, and you stop surviving and start truly living. Words to use before keynotes. Now, I want you to lean in. Let this sink into your soul because these next 10 points, they're not just words. They're the wisdom that can shift everything for you if you let it. The tighter you hold on, the more you struggle. Trust that God's plan is bigger than your fears. Have you ever tried to hold on to something so tightly that it actually started slipping through your fingers? Like grabbing a handful of sand and clenching your fist, only to watch the grains fall through the cracks no matter how hard you try to keep them in. That's what happens when we live under the illusion of control. We think if we plan enough, worry enough, strive enough, we can keep everything together. But life doesn't work that way. And deep down, we know it. Control is something we crave because it makes us feel safe. If we can predict the outcome, we think we can avoid pain, disappointment, or failure. But the hard truth is, control is an illusion. We don't get to dictate how everything unfolds. No amount of planning can stop unexpected loss, heartbreak, or obstacles from coming our way. And yet, we exhaust ourselves trying. Think about it. How many times have you lost sleep replaying scenarios in your head, trying to figure out how to fix something that wasn't yours to fix? How many times have you let stress consume you because you believed everything depended on you? That if you just tried harder, did more, stayed up later, pushed beyond exhaustion, somehow you could hold everything together. But no matter how hard you try, life has a way of reminding you that you are not in control. And honestly, that realization can either break you or free you. See, there's power in letting go. There's freedom in surrendering what was never yours to carry in the first place. When you release the need to control everything and instead put it in God's hands, something shifts inside of you. Fear starts to fade. Anxiety loses its grip. And peace, the kind of peace you can't explain, takes over. Because suddenly you're not relying on your own limited strength. You're resting in something far greater. Imagine a child in the back seat of a car, gripping onto their toy steering wheel, pretending they're driving. They turn it left, right, press imaginary pedals, convinced they're the ones controlling the journey. But the truth? The real driver, the one actually steering, is their parent in the front seat. No matter how much the child turns their little wheel, the car moves in the direction it's meant to go. That's us. We sit there gripping onto the illusion of control, thinking if we just turn the wheel hard enough, we can direct our lives exactly where we want them to go. But God, He's in the driver's seat. And when we finally take our hands off the fake wheel and trust Him to lead, we stop striving and start living. Letting go doesn't mean doing nothing. It doesn't mean we sit back and expect life to just happen. It means we do our part, but we stop obsessing over the outcome. We work hard, but we don't let fear dictate our steps. We make plans, but we hold them loosely, knowing that God's plan is bigger, better, and beyond anything we could create for ourselves. Look back at your life for a moment. Think about the times you desperately tried to control things, relationships, jobs, opportunities, outcomes. Did it bring you peace? Or did it leave you drained, anxious, and frustrated? Now think about the moments when you finally let go, when you surrendered and trusted that whatever happened, God had you. That weight lifted, didn't it? Because here's the truth.
Hmm.
When you stop gripping so tight, you make room for God to move. When you loosen your hold, you give him space to work in ways you couldn't even imagine. When you finally step back and say, God, I trust you, that's when doors start opening, miracles start unfolding, and things start falling into place. Not always in the way you expected, but always in the way they were meant to. But let's be real. Letting go is scary. It feels like losing control. It feels like stepping into the unknown without a safety net. But faith is knowing that even though you can't see the whole picture, the one who holds it does. Faith is choosing to trust even when fear tells you to panic. Faith is believing that even in the waiting, even in the uncertainty, God is still working behind the scenes. Think about a seed planted in the ground. For weeks, sometimes months, it looks like nothing is happening. But under the soil, in the darkness where no one can see, roots are growing. The foundation is being built. And at the right time, when it's ready, that seed breaks through the surface strong and full of life. That's your life. Right now, you may feel like you're in the waiting phase. You've done everything you can, but you're not seeing the results. You're trying to control the process, rushing the outcome, frustrated that things aren't happening on your timeline. But what if, instead of trying to force it, you trusted that God is working beneath the surface? That even though you can't see it yet, growth is happening. And at the right time, everything will come together in a way you never expected. God's plan is not always obvious. It's not always immediate, but it is always perfect. So if you're exhausted from trying to hold it all together, if you're tired of the anxiety that comes from believing it's all on you, if you're done striving, stressing, and forcing, then let go. Give it to God. Put it in his hands. Because the moment you do, you'll realize something powerful. You were never meant to carry this alone. And when you stop trying to control everything, you make space for peace, for miracles, for joy. Because trust me, his plan is so much bigger than your fears. Stop stressing about the result. Do your part and let God handle the rest. How often do we live our lives feeling completely exhausted? Not because we're physically tired, but because we're emotionally drained from trying to control things that were never ours to control. We carry this invisible weight on our shoulders, believing that if we don't figure everything out, if we don't push harder, if we don't make everything work exactly the way we envision it, then we've somehow failed. But here's the truth. Your job is obedience, not outcome. Think about that for a second. You are not responsible for the results, God is. Your job is to show up, to trust, to take the next step in faith, and to be obedient to what you feel called to do. But the outcome, that's in his hands. The moment you truly grasp this, life changes. You stop living under the constant pressure of, what if it doesn't work? And instead, step into the freedom of knowing that as long as you're walking in obedience, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. But let's be honest, this is hard. We want to see immediate results. We want proof that our efforts aren't in vain. When we work hard, we expect success. When we love deeply, we expect love in return. When we pour into something, whether it's a dream, a relationship, or a goal, we expect to see the fruit of our labor quickly. And when it doesn't happen on our timeline, we panic. We doubt. We start to believe that maybe we made a mistake, maybe we're not good enough, or maybe God isn't listening. But what if the delay isn't denial? What if the waiting is part of the process? And what if the very thing you're stressing over is the thing God is asking you to release? Let's look at it this way. Imagine a farmer planting a field. He does everything right, prepares the soil, plants the seeds, waters them daily. But he doesn't dig up the seeds every morning to check if they're growing. He doesn't stress over whether the sun will rise or if the rain will come. He does his part and then trusts that in time, the harvest will come. That's what faith looks like. It's planting the seeds, taking action, being obedient, showing up, and then trusting that God will take care of the rest. It's knowing that even if you don't see immediate results, things are still happening beneath the surface. Doors are opening that you can't see yet. Connections are being made that you don't even know about. God is working behind the scenes in ways beyond your understanding. But here's where we struggle. We confuse effort with control. We think that if we just try harder, if we just push a little more, we can force things to happen. And when they don't, we feel frustrated and defeated. But obedience is about releasing that need for control. It's about saying, God, I'll do what you've called me to do, but I trust you with the results. Think about Noah. God told him to build an ark when there wasn't a drop of rain in sight? Do you think Noah ever questioned it? Do you think he ever wondered, am I crazy? What if this doesn't work? But he kept going. He built that ark out of obedience, not because he had proof that the rain was coming, but because he trusted the one who told him it would. What about Moses? He led an entire nation out of Egypt with nothing but faith that God would make a way. And when he stood at the edge of the Red Sea, with the enemy behind him and no visible path forward, do you think he felt overwhelmed? Do you think he had a moment of panic, wondering if he had failed he had failed? But in that moment, his job wasn't to split the sea. That was God's job. His job was to trust, to be obedient, and to take the next step. And because of that obedience, miracles happened. Now, think about your own life. What is that thing you're holding on to so tightly? Tightly. That dream, that relationship, that goal, are you exhausting yourself trying to control the outcome? Are you so focused on making it happen that you're missing the beauty of the process? Because here's the truth. When you surrender the outcome, you make room for miracles. When you release your grip and say, God, I trust you with this, you step into a life of peace instead of pressure. And peace. Peace is priceless. So what does this look like in real life? It means showing up every day and giving your best, but not letting the results define your worth. It means making plans, but being willing to pivot when God leads you in a different direction. It means working hard, but not attaching your identity to your success. It means trusting that even when things don't go the way you expected, they're still going the way they are supposed to. It also means letting go of the fear of failure. Because if you're walking in obedience, there is no failure, only learning, growth, and redirection. Sometimes what looks like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. Sometimes what looks like a closed door is actually protection from something that wasn't meant for you. Look back at your life. How many times have you stressed over something that, in hindsight, wasn't even worth the worry? How many times did something not work out, only for you to realize later that it was for the best? That's the power of trusting God with the outcome. So today, I challenge you. Take a deep breath and let it go. Do your part, but stop carrying the weight of the results. Stop trying to control what was never yours to control. Work hard, but trust harder. Obey, but don't obsess. And most of all, remember this: God's plan for your life is far greater than anything you could orchestrate on your own. And when you finally release the need to control the outcome, you'll find something even greater: peace, joy, and the freedom to live without fear. Because when you put it in God's hands, the results are never your burden to bear. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. God's timing is always perfect. We live in a world that values speed, fast results, instant gratification, quick solutions. We expect everything to happen on our timeline, and when it doesn't, we start to doubt. We question whether our dreams will ever come true, whether our prayers will ever be answered, whether what we're waiting for is even possible anymore. But let me ask you something. Who told you that just because it hasn't happened yet, it never will? Who convinced you that delay means denial? Because I promise you, God's timing is never late. It's never wrong. And just because you can't see it happening doesn't mean he's not working behind the scenes. Look at nature. A seed planted in the ground doesn't sprout overnight. There's a period of waiting, a season where nothing seems to be happening. But underneath the soil, the roots are growing. The foundation is being built, and at the right time, when it's ready, it breaks through the surface. The same thing happens in your life. You may not see it, but something is happening beneath the surface. But waiting is hard, isn't it? When you're believing for something, whether it's a breakthrough in your career, a relationship, healing, or clarity, and it doesn't happen on your timeline, it's easy to feel discouraged. It's easy to believe that maybe it's never coming, that maybe you heard God wrong, that maybe you're just not good enough. But let me remind you, God's delays are not his denials. Sometimes he's saying a not yet because he's still preparing you. Sometimes he's saying wait because he's protecting you from something you don't see. And sometimes the very thing you're waiting for requires a different version of you, one that's stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the blessing that's coming. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had a dream as a young man that he would be a great leader. But instead of stepping into that promise immediately, he was sold into slavery, falsely accused and thrown into prison. If anyone had a reason to doubt, to question, to believe that maybe he misunderstood God's plan. It was Joseph. But every single delay, every setback, every unexpected turn was actually positioning him for his destiny. By the time he reached the place of leadership that God had promised, he had the wisdom, strength, and character to handle it. If he had arrived too soon, he wouldn't have been ready. The same is true for you. There are things you're praying for right now that you may not be ready to receive yet. There are things God is aligning for you that you can't even imagine. And if you rush the process, you could end up with something that isn't fully developed, something that doesn't last. That's all right. Think about a cake baking in the oven. If you pull it out too soon because you're impatient, it's not fully cooked, it's not ready. And if you try to eat it, it's not going to taste the way it was meant to. But if you trust the process, if you wait until the right time, it comes out perfect. That's what God is doing with your life. The waiting isn't wasted. It's preparing you. It's strengthening your faith. It's teaching you patience, resilience, and trust. But here's the problem. When things don't happen on our timeline, we panic. We start taking matters into our own hands. We start forcing things, making rushed decisions, settling for less than what we deserve just because we're tired of, 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 because we're tired of waiting. But anything that is forced won't last. Anything that is rushed won't be as good as what God has planned. Look at Abraham and Sarah. God promised them a child, but when the years passed and nothing happened, they took things into their own hands. Sarah convinced Abraham to have a child with her servant, Hagar, thinking that maybe this was how God's promise would be fulfilled. But that wasn't God's plan. And because they tried to force the outcome, they created unnecessary pain, conflict, and heartbreak. But when God's promise finally came, in his timing, not theirs, Isaac was born, and his plan was fulfilled in a way they could have never orchestrated on their own. How many times have you tried to rush something in your own life? Maybe you settled for a job you didn't love because you were tired of waiting for the right opportunity. Maybe you stayed in a relationship that wasn't healthy because you were afraid of being alone. Maybe you gave up on a dream too soon. Because you didn't see progress fast enough. But what if you just waited a little longer? What if the thing you've been praying for is just around the corner? What if the delay is actually a setup for something greater than you ever imagined? Because here's the truth. When you try to take shortcuts, you miss out on the fullness of what God has for you. But when you trust his timing, even when it doesn't make sense, you'll always end up exactly where you're meant to be. So how do you wait well? You keep showing up. You keep being faithful where you are. You keep growing, learning, and preparing for what's next. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's because their journey is not yours. You stop letting impatience make decisions for you. And most importantly, you trust that God Look back at your life. Think about the moments where things didn't happen the way you wanted, but later you realize they happened exactly the way they needed to. Think about the times you were frustrated by the delay, but looking back, you see how everything aligned perfectly. That's God. So, whatever you're waiting for right now, don't lose faith. Don't let impatience rob you of something amazing. Don't let frustration convince you to settle. The wait might be hard, but I promise you, what's coming is worth it. God's timing is not your timing, but it is always what you're going through isn't wasted. It's shaping you, strengthening you, and setting you up for something greater. Pain is something we all try to avoid. We don't want to feel it. We don't want to experience it. And when it does come, we want it to be over as quickly as possible. But here's what most people never realize. Pain has a purpose. The struggles, setbacks, disappointments, and heartbreaks you've been through, they weren't for nothing. They weren't just random suffering. Every single thing you've gone through has been preparing you, molding you, and strengthening you for what's ahead. Think about a piece of gold. When gold is first found, it doesn't look valuable. It's covered in impurities, mixed in with dirt and other metals. But when it's put in the fire, when it's exposed to intense heat, something amazing happens. The impurities rise to the surface and are removed, leaving behind something pure, strong, and valuable. That's what happens to you when you go through difficult seasons. The fire of pain and struggle isn't meant to destroy you, it's meant to refine you. It's meant to remove the things that are holding you back, to shape you into the person you're meant to become. The very thing that feels like it's breaking you is actually building you. But here's the problem. When we're in the middle of it, we don't see it that way. When we're hurting, all we want is for the pain to stop. We ask God, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? But what if instead of asking why, we started asking, what is this teaching me? How is this growing me? How is this preparing me for what's next? Because the truth is, every person who has ever done something great, every person who has ever overcome obstacles has had to go through something first. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Strength isn't built in easy seasons. And the most powerful, successful, and resilient people in the world didn't get there because life was easy for them. They got there because they went through challenges, and instead of letting those challenges break them, they let them shape them. Look at some of the greatest stories in history. Every hero, every leader, every person who made an impact, they all had a moment of struggle. They all had a season where it felt like everything was falling apart. But that season, it was the very thing that pushed them into their purpose. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers and thrown into prison before he became a ruler in Egypt. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before leading his people to freedom. David was hunted by King Saul for years before he became king. Even Jesus had to endure suffering before filling his purpose. So why do we think our journey will be any different? Why do we think we can step into our purpose without going through the process? Your pain is not wasted. That heartbreak, it's teaching you what real love looks like. That failure, it's building resilience and wisdom. That loss, it's deepening your empathy and strengthening your faith. Think about a muscle. If you never put stress on a muscle, if you never challenge it, it never grows. It stays weak. But when you lift weights, when you push past your comfort zone, the muscle breaks down so it can rebuild itself stronger. That's exactly how life works. The hardest seasons are where the most growth happens. The pain you're feeling now is strengthening something inside of you. You may not see it yet, but one day you will. One day you'll look back and realize that the thing you thought was breaking you is actually building you. But here's the key. You have to keep going. You can't let the pain make you bitter. You can't let it convince you to quit, because the enemy would love for you to believe that your pain is pointless, that your struggle is meaningless. But that's a lie. Pain only becomes pointless when you refuse to grow from it. But if you decide that no matter what happens, you will learn from it, you will rise from it, and you will use it to fuel you, then pain becomes power. Think about the toughest moments of your life, the times you thought you wouldn't make it through, but you did. And because of that, you're stronger now. You're wiser. You see the world differently. You love differently. You live differently. Your struggles have shaped you in ways nothing else could. Maybe right now you're going through something that feels impossible. Maybe you feel like you've been waiting for things to get better, but the storm just won't pass. Maybe you're tired, exhausted from fighting, wondering if things will ever change. I want you to hear me. This is not the end of your story. There is something on the other side of this. There is purpose in this pain, but you have to trust that what you're going through is leading somewhere, because one day you'll be on the other side of this storm. One day you'll be looking back, telling someone else who's struggling, I know it's hard, but keep going. I've been there, and I promise you this is not where your story ends. Your pain is shaping you, strengthening you, and setting you up for something greater. So don't give up, keep fighting, keep trusting, keep trusting. Because one day you'll see that every tear, every struggle, every painful moment was building you into the person you were always meant to be. You are stronger than you think. The things you've been through, the obstacles you've faced, and the storms you've walked through have made you into someone far more powerful than you realize. Life has tested you. It has thrown challenges your way, knocked you down, and made you question whether you had what it takes to keep going. And yet, here you are, still standing, still fighting, still pushing forward. But here's the thing, most of us don't see our own strength. We don't recognize how much we've overcome. Instead, we focus on what's still wrong, what still needs to change, what we haven't accomplished yet. We look at our weaknesses instead of our resilience. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked back at a time in your life when you thought you wouldn't make it through? Maybe it was heartbreak, loss, failure, or a season of uncertainty. Maybe you were completely overwhelmed, feeling like the weight of the world was too much to carry. But guess what? You did make it through. It didn't break you. It stretched you, challenged you, and changed you, but it didn't destroy you. You are proof that strength isn't about avoiding hardship. Strength is about enduring it and coming out the other side. It's about walking through the fire and refusing to let it consume you. It's about feeling fear, but choosing to move forward anyway. The problem is, we often don't feel strong while we're going through it. We feel exhausted, defeated, and sometimes even hopeless. We assume that if we were really strong, we wouldn't feel this way. But strength isn't the absence of struggle. It's the decision to keep going, despite the struggle.
Think about a tree in the middle of a storm.
The wind comes, the rain pours, and the storm beats against it. But the tree stands. Its branches might bend, its leaves might be stripped away, but its roots hold firm. And after the storm passes, the tree is still there. It might look different. It might have scars from the battle, but it's still standing. That's you. You've been through storms. You've had moments where you thought you wouldn't make it, but you did. And every time you survived, your roots grew deeper. Your foundation became stronger. Your resilience was built even when you didn't realize it. But here's the part most people forget. Strength isn't just about surviving. It's about what you do with what you've learned. It's about taking the lessons from your struggles and using them to fuel you forward. And it's about recognizing that everything you've been through has prepared you for something greater. Think about an athlete training for a marathon. They don't start out running 26 miles on day one. They train. They push their limits. They get stronger with every mile. And the only way they build that strength is by pushing through the discomfort. Your life works the same way. Every challenge, every setback, every moment that tested you, it was all part of the training. It was building endurance, teaching you how to persevere, and preparing you for what's next. But if you only see the struggle and not the strength it built, you'll always feel like you're falling behind. So today, I want you to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing your past as a series of struggles, start seeing it as proof of your strength. Start recognizing that you're here today, not because life was easy, but because you refused to give up. You are stronger than you think. And you know how I know that? Because you're still here. You're still fighting. You're still believing, still trying, still holding on. Even when it's hard, that is strength. The enemy would love for you to believe that you're weak, that you're not good enough, that you'll never get past this season, but that's a lie. Because if you were really weak, you wouldn't have made it this far. If you were really weak, you would have given up a long time ago. But you didn't. You kept going even when it felt impossible. You chose to rise even when you wanted to fall. You decided to believe even when doubt was screaming at you. That's strength. That's resilience. That's where you are. And here's the best part. If you've made it through everything you've faced so far, what makes you think you won't make it through this? Whatever you're facing right now, no matter how big, how overwhelming, how impossible it seems, you will get through it. You have survived 100% of your hardest days so far. That means your track record for overcoming is perfect. And just like every other challenge, this one will pass too. So hold on. Stand firm. Keep believing. Because when you finally see yourself the way God sees you, when you recognize the strength that has been inside of you all along, nothing will be able to stop you. Fear is a liar. It whispers in your ear, telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not capable, that you'll never make it. It tries to paralyze you, to keep you stuck, to make you believe that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown. But here's the truth. Fear is nothing more than a barrier between you and the life you're meant to live. Every single one of us has felt fear. It shows up when you're about to take a risk, when you're stepping into something new, when you're chasing a dream that feels bigger than you. It creeps in when you're vulnerable, when you're uncertain, when the path ahead isn't clear. And if you let it, fear will keep you exactly where you are. It will convince you that playing small is the best option, that staying comfortable is better than stepping into the unknown, that failure is too painful to risk trying. But let me ask you something. How many times have you let fear talk you out of something that could have changed your life? How many times have you looked back and realized that the only thing stopping you wasn't a lack of ability, but a fear of the unknown? Think about the dreams you've had, the goals you've set, the things you wanted to pursue. Maybe you wanted to start a business, write a book, change careers, move to a new city, or step into a calling that felt bigger than you. And then fear showed up. What if I fail? Fail?
What if I'm not good enough? What if people judge me?
What if I make the wrong decision? And instead of moving forward, you stayed where you were. You let fear win. And the worst part, you never even got the chance to see what could have been. Because that's what fear does. It robs you of possibilities. It keeps you from ever knowing what you're truly capable of.
Ew.
It keeps you trapped in a life that feels safe but unfulfilled. But here's what you need to understand: fear is just an emotion. It's not truth. It's not a prophecy. It's not a sign that you shouldn't move forward. It's just your brain trying to protect you from the unknown. But the unknown is where growth happens. The unknown is where transformation begins. Every single person you admire, every successful person you see, every leader, every world changer, they all felt fear, but they moved anyway. They understood that fear isn't a stop sign. It's just proof that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. And that's exactly where you're supposed to be. Think about a baby learning to walk. They don't analyze every step, wondering if they'll fall. They just go for it. And when they do fall, they don't quit. I don't quit. They get back up and try again. But somewhere along the way, we stop doing that. We let failure scare us. We let fear of falling keep us from even trying. We start believing that if we're afraid, it must mean something is wrong. But fear is just part of the process. It's proof that you're growing. Look at the Bible. How many times does God tell people not to be afraid? Over and over, we see stories of people who were terrified, who didn't feel qualified, who had no idea how things would work out. And every time God told them the same thing: do not fear, I am with you. Moses was afraid to lead. Gideon doubted himself. Peter was terrified to step out of the boat. But every time when they trusted God instead of their fear, miracles happened. So what if you did the same? What if instead of letting fear dictate your choices, you saw it as a sign that you were stepping into something bigger? What if instead of backing down, you pushed forward? Because here's the truth: fear will always be there. It's not something you outgrow. It's not something that disappears when you reach a certain level of success. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't that they never feel fear. It's that they don't let fear make their decisions. And that's what you have to do. You have to stop waiting for the fear to go away before you take action. You have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the moment when you feel completely confident, completely ready, because that moment will never come. You don't need to feel fearless to take action. You just need to be willing to move forward despite the fear. Think about the last time you did something that scared you. Maybe it was speaking in public, having a hard conversation, applying for a job you didn't think you'd get, or stepping into a new opportunity. At first, fear was loud. It told you all the reasons you shouldn't do it. But then, once you took the first step, what happened? The fear started to fade, because fear is loudest before you start. Once you take action, once you step forward, you realize that the thing you were afraid of wasn't as terrifying as you thought. That's why courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward despite it. It's feeling the fear and taking the step anyway. So, what are you afraid of right now? What's the thing that fear has been holding you back from? Is it starting something new? Is it stepping into an opportunity? Is it letting go of what's familiar and trusting that God has something better? Whatever it is, I want you to remember something. Fear is just a liar trying to keep you from your destiny. It's a distraction. It's a thief. And the only way it wins is if you let it. So stop waiting for the fear to go away. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for a sign that guarantees you won't fail. Just take the step. Just move forward. Just trust that even if you fall, God will catch you. Because the truth is, fear isn't the thing that should scare you the most. What should scare you the most is looking back on your life and realizing you never really lived because you were too afraid to try. Don't let fear rob you of what God has planned for you. Step forward, even if your hands are shaking, even if your heart is racing. Because the moment you do, you'll realize that fear never had any real power over you at all. Doubt is one of the biggest battles we face. It creeps in when we least expect it, whispering lies that make us question everything: our purpose, our abilities, our dreams. It makes us hesitate, second guess, and sometimes even give up before we've even started. We doubt our worth, we doubt our strength, we doubt whether we're capable of handling what's in front of us. And sometimes we even doubt whether God is really working in our lives. But here's what you need to know: doubt is a liar. It's not truth. It's not reality. It's a trick that keeps you stuck, keeps you small, and keeps you from stepping into the life you're meant to live. Think about this. How many times in your life have you let doubt talk you out of something? How many times have you had a dream, an opportunity, or a deep desire in your heart, but instead of moving forward, you let doubt win? What if I fail? Oh, what if I'm not good enough? Oh, what if I'm making the wrong choice? Oh, what if I don't have what it takes? Sound familiar? We convince ourselves that these questions mean something, that if we have doubt, it must be a sign that we shouldn't move forward. But that's not true. Doubt doesn't mean you're not capable. It doesn't mean you're not meant to do something. It just means you're human. Even the strongest people, the most successful people, the most faithful people, every single one of them has experienced doubt at some point. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't that they never feel doubt. It's that they don't let doubt control them. They don't let doubt be the final decision maker, because here's what happens when you let doubt win. You miss out. You miss out on opportunities. You miss out on growth. You miss out on seeing what's possible. Think about the Bible. Some of the greatest leaders in history struggled with doubt. Moses doubted whether he could lead. Gideon doubted whether he was strong enough. Peter doubted and started sinking when he walked on water. Even Thomas, one of Jesus' disciples, doubted that Jesus had risen from the dead until he saw him with his own eyes. But did their doubts stop God's plan? No, because God doesn't need you to be doubt-free to use you. He just needs you to trust him more than you trust your doubt. That's the key. Where do you put your trust? In your doubt or in God's plan for you? Because here's the truth. Doubt will always be there. It will show up every time you're about to step into something new, something bigger, something that requires faith. But faith isn't the absence of doubt. Faith is choosing to move forward even when doubt is present. It's choosing to believe that even when you don't see the whole picture, God does. It's choosing to trust that even when you feel unqualified, God has already equipped you. It's choosing to know that even when you don't feel strong, God's strength is enough. Because the truth is, you don't need to have all the answers to move forward. You don't need to feel 100% confident before you take the next step. You just need to have the courage to trust that God is leading you, even when the path isn't clear. But that's where most people get stuck. They think that because they feel doubt, it must mean they should wait, that they need more confirmation, that they need a guarantee before they take action. But that's not how faith works. Faith is taking the step before you see the whole staircase. Faith is saying, God, I don't know how this will work out, but I trust that you do. Faith is understanding that doubt is part of the journey, but it doesn't have to control the outcome. Because here's the thing. If you let doubt stop you now, you'll never move forward. Doubt isn't going anywhere. It's always going to try to sneak in. But you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to let it dictate your future. You don't have to let it steal your dreams, your purpose, your calling, because doubt only has power if you give it power. But when you choose faith over doubt, that's when miracles happen. That's when doors open. That's when you start stepping into the life you are meant to live. So today, I want you to make a decision. Are you going to let doubt win? Or are you going to move forward in faith, even if you don't have all the answers? Because I promise you, on the other side of that doubt is something greater than you can even imagine. But you'll never know unless you take the step. So stop waiting for doubt to disappear. Move anyway. Trust anyway. Step forward anyway. Because God is already ahead of you, making a way. And all he's asking is that you trust him enough to follow. There comes a moment in life when you realize that you cannot control everything. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much effort you put in, there are things that will always be beyond your control. And if you're anything like most people, that realization can be terrifying. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold everything together, trying to make things work, trying to figure out what's next, trying to fix problems, trying to make sure everything goes the way we planned. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You can't control what other people do. You can't control what other people think. You can't control the future. You can't control every outcome. And the more you try, the more exhausted you become. Because control is heavy. It's a burden that was never meant to be yours. And yet we hold on.
Chum.
We hold on to our plans, our fears, our expectations, our need for certainty. We convince ourselves that if we can just manage every detail, Everything will be okay. But deep down, we know that's not how life works because life is unpredictable. Sometimes things don't go the way you expected. Sometimes doors close that you thought would stay open. Sometimes people walk away when you thought they'd always be there. Sometimes you face obstacles that you never saw coming. And in those moments, control slips right through your fingers. But here's the truth: you don't have to carry it all. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to figure everything out on your own because that's not your job. Your job is to trust. Your job is to believe that even when you don't understand, God is still working. Your job is to surrender what you cannot control and trust that God already has a plan. Think about how much energy you've spent trying to figure everything out. How much stress, how much anxiety, how many sleepless nights you've had because you were trying to control something that was never yours to control. But what if you let it go? What if you handed it over to God and said, I can't do this on my own and I don't have to? What if, instead of holding on so tightly, you opened your hands and released it? Because when you finally surrender, something incredible happens. The weight lifts, the anxiety fades, the pressure disappears because you were never meant to carry it in the first place. Look at what the Bible says: cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7.
Yeah, it doesn't say hold on to your anxiety and figure it out on your own. It says cast it, release it, give it to God. Let him carry what you were never meant to.
But that's where we struggle, isn't it? We like the idea of surrender. We like the idea of trusting God. But when it comes down to it, we still want control. We say we trust God, but then we still try to fix everything ourselves. We say we believe He has a plan, but then we panic when things don't go the way we expected. We say we're giving it to Him, but then we keep picking it back up, and that's why we stay stuck. Because you can't hold on and surrender at the same time. You have to choose. Are you going to keep exhausting yourself trying to control everything, or are you going to lay it down at God's feet and trust that He's got it handled? Because here's the thing: God sees what you can't. He knows what's ahead. He knows why certain things had to happen the way they did. He knows what doors need to stay closed and what doors need to open. And He knows exactly what you need, even when it's not what you expected. But if you keep holding on, if you keep trying to force things to go your way, you'll miss out on what God is trying to do. Because when you surrender, when you stop trying to force everything to fit into your own plans, that's when you make room for something greater. That's when peace replaces anxiety. That's when clarity replaces confusion. That's when faith replaces fear. And that's when you step into the life you were meant to live. Because here's the truth: surrender isn't weakness. Surrender is strength. It's the courage to say, I don't have to figure this out on my own. It's the wisdom to recognize that God's plan is always better than yours. It's the faith to believe that even when you don't understand, God is still in control. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to right now? What are you trying to control that is keeping you up at night? What are you carrying that is making you exhausted? Whatever it is, I want you to make a choice today. Stop holding on so tightly. Stop trying to force everything to fit into your own understanding. Stop exhausting yourself with things that were never yours to carry, and instead hand it over. Lay it down. Let it go. Because when you do, you'll finally experience the freedom, the peace, and the joy that comes when you stop trying to control everything and start trusting the one who already has it all figured out. Pain is something every single one of us will experience in life. It's unavoidable. It comes in different forms: loss, betrayal, disappointment, failure, heartbreak. Sometimes it's sharp and sudden, like a knife wound. Other times it's slow and lingering, like a dull ache that never fully goes away. And when we're in the middle of it, when the weight of it feels unbearable, we start asking questions. Why is this happening to me? When will this end? Where is God in all of this? Pain can make us feel abandoned. It can make us feel forgotten. It can make us believe that we are alone in our suffering. But here's what I want you to know: pain is never wasted. I know that sounds hard to believe when you're in the middle of it. When you're struggling just to get through the day, when your heart is shattered, when the weight of what you've been through is pressing down on you, it's hard to imagine that anything good could ever come from it. But I promise you, God never allows pain without purpose. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Were they the easy moments, The times when everything went smoothly? Or were they the moments that tested you, that stretched you, that pushed you past what you thought you could handle? Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Strength isn't built in ease. Resilience isn't formed when everything is perfect. It's in the struggle, in the fire, in the moments when you think you can't take another step. That's when transformation happens. Look at the stories in the Bible. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and thrown into prison for a crime he didn't commit. Years later, he became second in command in Egypt and saved an entire nation, including the very brothers who betrayed him. What they meant for harm, God used for good, for good. Job lost everything, his family, his wealth, his health. He went through unimaginable suffering, and yet, in the end, God restored him and blessed him even more than before. Even Jesus, his journey to the cross was filled with pain, suffering, and betrayal. But that pain had a purpose. It led to the greatest victory in history, the redemption of humanity. Pain is not the end of your story. I know it's hard to see when you're in it. I know it feels endless, overwhelming, unbearable. But I need you to hold on to this truth. There is something on the other side of this pain that you cannot see yet. You are being shaped. You're being refined. You're being prepared. God is using this season to build something in you: strength, wisdom, compassion, resilience. He is taking what the enemy meant for harm and turning it into something that will be a testimony of his goodness. But here's the thing: how you respond to pain matters. Pain can do two things. It can make you bitter, or it can make you better. It can make you shut down, or it can open your heart. It can make you give up, or it can make you rise up. And the choice is yours. You can allow pain to define you, to break you, to make you question everything about who you are and what you believe. Or you can allow it to refine you, to strengthen you, to teach you things you never would have learned otherwise. I know that's easier said than done. I know when you're hurting, the last thing you want to hear is that this pain is part of a bigger plan. But I'm not telling you to pretend it doesn't hurt. I'm not telling you to suppress it or ignore it. I'm telling you to trust that it's not meaningless. You don't have to understand it right now. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to keep going, one step at a time, one breath at a time, one prayer at a time, because one day you're going to look back and you're going to see what God was doing all along. You're going to see how this pain led to something greater. You're going to see how the thing that almost broke you actually built you. But you have to choose to believe it before you can see it. You have to choose to trust that even though this chapter is hard, it's not the end of the story. You have to choose to keep moving forward, even when everything in you wants to quit. Because I promise you, there's something beautiful on the other side of this pain. Healing is coming. Restoration is coming. Joy is coming. But you have to hold on. You have to refuse to let pain define you. You have to trust that what you're going through now is not the end. It's just a step on the journey to something greater. So don't give up. Don't let this pain turn you into someone you're not. Don't let bitterness take root. Feel what you need to feel, cry if you need to cry, grieve if you need to grieve. But then get up, keep going, keep believing, because God is still working. And one day, the thing that brought you to your knees will be the testimony that helps someone else stand. There comes a point in life where you have to make a choice. Are you going to keep carrying the past with you, or are you going to release it and step into the future that God has for you? Because here's the truth: holding on to the past is heavy. The regrets, the mistakes, the betrayals, the failures, the things that should have happened but didn't, the things that did happen that you wish hadn't. We carry them like baggage, dragging them through life, believing that somehow we have to hold on to them, either as a reminder, as a punishment, or because we simply don't know how to let go. But the past is over. No matter how much you replay it, no matter how much you wish things had been different, no matter how much you hold on to the pain, it won't change what has already happened. And yet, so many of us live trapped in it. We live trapped in the things we can't undo, the words we can't take back, the moments we wish we could change. We live in cycles of guilt and shame, regret and resentment, holding on so tightly to the past that we have no room to embrace the future. But here's what you need to know. God didn't create you to live in the past. He created you to move forward. The enemy would love nothing more than for you to stay stuck in what was. He would love for you to believe that your past disqualifies you, that your mistakes define you, that your best days are behind you. But that's because with God, nothing from your past is wasted. Not the failures, not the heartbreak, not the wrong turns, not even the seasons where you felt completely lost. God is a redeemer. He takes what was meant for harm and turns it into good. He takes what was broken and makes it whole. He takes the pieces of your past and weaves them into a future that is more beautiful than anything you could have imagined. But he can't do that if you won't let go. Think about what happens when you hold on to something too tightly. Your hands become full. And when your hands are full, you have no room to receive anything new. That's what happens when you refuse to let go of the past. God is trying to give you something better. New opportunities, new blessings, new relationships, new purpose, but your hands are too full of the things you refuse to release. It's time to let go. Let go of the guilt that has been weighing you down. Let go of the shame that keeps whispering that you're not enough. Let go of the bitterness that has been poisoning your heart. Let go of the need for closure that may never come. Let go of the idea that your past defines your future, because it doesn't. God defines your future, and he says you are forgiven. He says you are chosen. He says you are redeemed. He says he has plans for you, plans for good, plans for a hope and a future. But you have to make a decision. Are you going to keep looking back, or are you going to step forward? Are you going to keep letting the past dictate your future, or are you going to trust that what's ahead is greater than what's behind? The choice is yours. Think about Lot's wife. When God was leading her out of Sodom, he told her not to look back, but she did. And in that moment, she became stuck, literally turned into a pillar of salt. And that's what happens to us when we refuse to let go of the past. We become stuck in pain, stuck in regret, stuck in what ifs and if onlys. But you don't have to live that way. God is calling you forward. He is calling you into something new, something better, something greater than you can even imagine. But you have to trust him enough to let go. And I know it's not always easy. Sometimes we hold on to the past because it's familiar. Even when it's painful, at least it's something we know. The unknown is scary. But faith isn't about knowing every detail. Faith is about trusting that God knows what he's doing, even when you don't understand. Faith is believing that even when you can't see what's next, God is already there making a way. And faith is what allows you to release the past and step boldly into the future. So today, I want you to make a choice, a real choice, not just in your mind, but in your heart, to let go, to forgive, to stop replaying the past, to stop letting your mistakes define you, to stop carrying the weight of things that God has already told you to release, because the future is waiting. And I promise you, what's ahead is so much greater than what's behind.